This title is narrated with virtual voice, computer-generated narration for audiobooks. The Fatal Family Affair by Julie Bergman. Prologue. The entire ride to El Paso, Adams sat quietly. He barely knew the guy who was driving. They had met a few times, but he was a day shifter, and Adams was typically on nights. He just wanted to get this thing over with and survive to tell the tale. Once they arrived at the bar, he sipped his beer and checked his phone obsessively. "Calm down, dude, or you're going to get too much attention," his fake buddy said. "How can I calm down? I'm about to commit a felony," Adams said. "It'll be fine, dude. I've done it at least 100 times, and it went just fine. Take a deep breath and drink the rest of your beer. You'll be fine." Robert couldn't believe his life had turned into a shit show. He remembered how good it felt when he was called Airman Adams. It felt like he had finally become somebody. His mom had been so proud when he went into the military. She was hopeful after his older brother had been locked up for dealing drugs, and now look where he was. He hated the thought of disappointing his mama. She had been through so much already, and the last thing she needed was to have both her sons behind bars. She'd said the only good thing about his brother getting arrested was that he wouldn't be shot in the streets. She had made Robert promise her he would stay out of trouble and do good things with his life. But that wasn't how things were turning out. It almost seemed like bad luck was following him. Things had started well enough. He had done well in basic training and excelled in tech school. Academics had always been easy for him, and his instructors said he could really go somewhere in the military if he kept his nose clean. The promise of a military career had always appealed to Rob. He thought if he could start climbing up the ranks, then he would eventually be able to pay for his mom to come to live with him. He had started with the intention of doing just that. The Section 8 low-income housing she lived in was falling apart, and the crime rate was going through the roof. Her neighbor had been killed last week in a drive-by shooting. Rob's first base was Holloman Air Force Base in Alamogordo, New Mexico. It certainly wasn't his first choice, but he was at least close to his mom who lived in El Paso, Texas. He went to see her at least twice a month. But lately, he hadn't been going as often. He felt awful for the path he'd found himself on. When he arrived at Holloman, things had gone very well. He liked the guys who lived in his dorms and had a good time hanging out. That was when the happy time stopped. He quickly discovered that some of his buddies were trafficking drugs across the border, and they wanted him to join. He said no, and they seemed to respect his decision until a guy from the Office of Special Investigations approached him and wanted him to be an informant. They said they could work it out to help reduce his brother's sentence. All he had to do was agree to run drugs with his buddies and tell OC what was happening. At first, he'd refused, but they threw his mother into the mix. They said she would know that he left her son in prison to rot, and she would never forgive him. He couldn't live with disappointing his mom again. At the time, he'd thought, what's the worst that could happen? He could just go along for the ride. If he helped OC, he might get a medal or make rank for his efforts. Now he was sitting across from his flight chief, who wanted him to go across the border to pick up drugs from the supplier. "Come on, Airman Adams. All you have to do is go to a beautiful home in Juarez, pick up the package, and bring it back to me. Don't open the package. Just put it in your backpack," Master Sergeant Kanek instructed in hushed tones. "But sir, it's against regulations to cross the border," Adams said. "It's off limits to the military. What if I get stopped?" "Don't worry about that. The Border Patrol agents are being paid off. You have nothing to worry about. We have it all worked out." He put his hand on Adam's shoulder to reassure him. "All you have to do is go to bar 915 and hang out for a while. Make sure people see you and know you're there. We'll send someone with you so you don't look like you're alone. When it's time, we'll send a car for you." "Do you understand what you're supposed to do?" Kanek asked. He was talking to Adams like he was a little kid. Adams understood, but he didn't want anything to do with it. Maybe his OC contact could get him out of it and put him on orders or something, so he would have a good excuse not to go. "What happens when I get across the border? How do I get to this house to pick up the package?" "There you go, Adams.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.